Now that Canadian Parliament is back in action, official government documents called Order Paper Questions, or OPQs, are rolling in. And today I have one that comes from a Conservative MP who is trying to, or attempting to, uncover the web of secrecy surrounding Canada's COVID-19 vaccine contracts. Those deals, well, they're worth billions in taxpayer dollars, and they're shrouded in non-disclosure agreements that bound officials to silence, potentially forever. And as we'll see, the government's response raises more questions than it answers, making it nearly impossible to pinpoint who knew what and when due to layers of classified information. So let's dig in. All right, let's start with the question itself, which is posed by Conservative MP Dean Allison, who referenced an access to information document that revealed top officials, including Chief Public Health Officer at the time, Theresa Tam, and several pandemic managers from departments like Health Canada, the Public Health Agency of Canada, Industry, Foreign Affairs, and even National Defence, had to sign what he called a secret oath. The access to information document reveals that this oath promised they'd never divulge information that may result in embarrassment to the government. Allison grilled the Liberals with 14 pointed sub-questions, such as who initiated this requirement, which departments and divisions were involved, who exactly signed it, and what positions did they hold? What were the agreement's details? Why was it necessary? Did the government hide embarrassing information from the public? And so on and so forth, right down to how it differed from standard public sector ethics codes. Now, the response came from someone named Maggie Chi, who's the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health. She starts by affirming the government's commitment to transparency. It's a classic opener. But she quickly pivots. Chi denies any secret oath, insisting that confidentiality itself wasn't a secret. She points to the Public Service Employment Act, which already requires employees not to disclose sensitive information without authority, plus Treasury Board ethics codes and security clearances. During the pandemic, however, she explains that the Public Health Agency of Canada and their officials worked with Public Services and Procurement Canada and others to secure these vaccines. Initially, confidentiality agreements, or NDAs, were required as a precautionary measure to protect confidential business information during negotiations. But later, they realized existing obligations were enough, so apparently they dropped the extra agreements. Employees involved were those handling procurement, distribution, or administration of vaccines, mirroring industry standards. PSPC oversaw the request for signatures, and it all sounds pretty straightforward, right? But not entirely. Chi's response dodges the specifics Allison asked for. No names of who initiated the NDAs, no list of signatories or their exact positions and divisions, no full details of the government's wording. Instead, we get generalities. It was precautionary and then unnecessary, and yes, those who signed are still bound by their original public service oaths. This evasiveness ties into broader reports like the one that I did on this very topic in June of 2023, highlighting the intense secrecy in these vaccine deals. In related inquiries, it's revealed that at least 35 officials signed NDAs, some time-limited and others indefinite, including high-profile figures like Chief Science Advisor Dr. Mona Nemer. But tracking is so poor that Health Canada admitted in their response at that time that they don't have a centralized database. It would require manual digging that might yield incomplete information. How convenient. One listed position didn't even exist, adding to the confusion and evasiveness that surrounds the COVID shot contracts and subsequent rollout. With secret contracts and indefinite vows of silence, it's nearly impossible to trace who was in what role at the time, or what embarrassing details like rushed testing or liability waivers might be hidden. Billions in public funds were spent on vaccines developed at an unprecedented speed, with manufacturers shielded from liability, as Liberal MP Anthony Housefather acknowledged, due to bypassing years of standard testing protocols.
Why is there much more redactions, as my colleague said, in these documents than in other documents? It's because these documents were signed at the beginning of a pandemic, when everybody was desperate for vaccines, when companies were being told to rush vaccine production, do testing in an unprecedented way, in a way they normally don't do it, So these companies were exposed to way higher liability, putting their products on the market than they normally would because they didn't do the type of testing that normally takes these drugs years to come to market. They did it all in less than a year. So that's why these companies said, if I'm going to deliver you this product that I haven't tested in my normal way, I want to have different conditions.
Yet Canadians can't see the full contracts without jumping through hoops, and officials are gagged from spilling anything potentially embarrassing. Is protecting business secrets more important than public trust? Where's the line between national security and covering up mistakes? In the end, this response proves that this government, when pressed on accountability, simply hides behind the same bureaucracy bloated by Justin Trudeau. If the government is truly committed to transparency, it's time to lift the veil on these deals. What do you think? Should MPs and the public have full access to these documents? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. The more that is learned about these shots, the more it seems like maybe they should be pulled from the market. If you agree, you can sign our petition at nomoreshots.ca, and there you can also sign up so that you never miss a report on this topic. All of that and more at nomoreshots.ca.